It's Christmas Eve, I'm wearing my elf hat, and we're going to talk about Lord of the Rings. Now, a lot of people have made the argument that The Lord of the Rings, and specifically The Fellowship of the Ring, should be called a Christmas movie. And honestly, I agree, right? They leave Rivendell to begin their quest on December 25th, on Christmas Day. There's elves, there's gifts, there's a lot going on there. But can we make it more Christmassy? I think so. What does every good Christmas movie have in common? Muppets. Okay, but unfortunately, Disney has the rights to the Muppets, Amazon has rights to Lord of the Rings right now, so we're probably not going to get a Muppets Lord of the Rings Christmas crossover. But what's the other thing that all the best Christmas movies have in common? Santa Claus. And we need to figure out, if we want to make this the most Christmassy version of Lord of the Rings possible, who should take that role of Santa Claus. And I think there is one very clear answer, and that is Galadriel. Now let's walk through it and see why Galadriel would make the best Santa Claus of all the characters in Lord of the Rings. Well, first off, what is Santa Claus, right? Well, in the Visit from St. Nicholas, the poem that's, "'Twas the night before Christmas," Santa Claus in there is described as a jolly old elf. So in that version, and in some other versions of the Santa Claus story, he is an elf. So Galadriel, she is an elf, and old? Oh, absolutely. Galadriel is a little bit over 8,000 years old when we meet her in Lord of the Rings. And the other thing too, Santa Claus, if he is an elf, he's bigger than all of the other elves, right? Well, Galadriel was known for her height. She was probably the tallest female elf ever to live, coming in around like 6.5 feet tall. She was notably tall and was told that she was the same height as Celeborn and the other male elves. So we've got a tall, older elf. Sounds like Santa Claus so far, right? Well, Santa Claus, next, he lives at the North Pole. Galadriel doesn't live at the North Pole, but she has spent some time pretty close to that place in Middle-earth. See, in the First Age, when Galadriel belongs to a group of elves called the Noldor, and when the Noldor were in Valinor, they came back to Middle-earth. Not going to go into everything. There was a betrayal. The ships they were going to take were stolen. And so the elves had to cross through the area called the Helcaraxa, or the grinding ice of the far north. And we're told that Galadriel was one of the leaders that helped get them all across. So she's spent time up in that frozen ice. Now, what's another notable thing about Santa Claus? His beard, right? His hair. Galadriel also was known for her hair. Not her beard, but her head hair. It was a huge deal, her golden and silver locks. Like, it was something she was known for. So we got the hair. We've got been to the North Pole. Old elf. Great. Now, the big one, obviously, giving gifts. Santa Claus gives gifts, and so does Galadriel. But it's not just that Galadriel gives gifts. It's that she really kind of follows the whole naughty, nice list thing in the gifts that she gives. Consider this. Aragorn, he gets a sheath for Anduril, his sword, that has like the lineage on it and jewels. And we're told in the books that Galadriel says that no sword ever pulled from this sheath will ever be stained or break, even in defeat, right? So that's a great gift for a warrior like Aragorn. Frodo, as the ring bearer on this quest, doing what he can to rid the world of evil, he gets the light of Eärendil, their most beloved star, literally the light of a Silmaril, if you know the Silmarillion. Pretty great gift. Sam, dear Sam, loyal Sam, noble Sam, the gardener and friend, he gets a box containing soil from Galadriel's personal garden and a seed of a Malorn tree. And he will use these gifts to restore the Shire, because in the books, spoiler alert, at the end of Return of the King, Saruman has come in and he has destroyed the Shire. And Sam uses these gifts to regrow everything that was torn down. The party tree becomes a Malorn tree when that gets planted, and the Shire becomes more beautiful than it ever has been because of this gift from Galadriel. Legolas, he gets a bow. He gets one of the bow of the Galadrim, which were the finest bows in all of Middle-earth. So for the archer, you can't get a better gift. Gimli gets the 3 strands of hair that represent this sort of reunification of these 2 estranged races, right? Elves and dwarves who had hated each other for so long. His gift literally is going to be a representation of them coming together again in an alliance. And now you got the other 3. And this is where the sort of naughty nice list comes in. Because if we were going to make a naughty list of the Fellowship, well, you'd have to believe that the bottom 3 are going to be Merry, Pippin, and Boromir. Those are the troublemakers. Merry, less so, but he kind of gets dragged along into Pippin stuff a lot of the time. What do they get? Well, they get belts. Galadriel literally gives them clothes. I think we've seen some of that happen to some naughty kids in our own lives. Oh, you got clothes for Christmas. Santa must have been paying extra close attention to you. Now, granted, some of those gifts did come in handy, right? Like the belts that Merry and Pippin wore. Aragorn was able to use those to track them. Not idly do the leaves of Lorien fall, right? That whole thing. Boromir, the naughtiest of them all, he just got a belt. Nothing special about it. It was gold, and it didn't really do him much good at all. And how does she determine who's on the naughty list? Well, she has her mirror. The mirror that lets her see things that were, things that are, and things that may yet come to be. So that's actually an improvement on Santa, because she can see not only if you're being naughty now, but if you were naughty and if you're going to be naughty. Both Santa Claus and Galadriel have a special relationship with food. Consider that, if Santa's going around every single night eating milk and cookies at every single house, if that's just regular digestion, Santa Claus is not going to be able to move by the end of the night, given how many milk and cookies he's eating and drinking, right? So he must have some sort of magical way for that food to not affect him. Galadriel, on the other hand, it's sort of like an opposite power. She has lembas bread. Lembas bread, the magical food of the elves that you can take one bite and it fills you up for a whole day. I mean, it's different, but kind of similar, right? This magical thing of food. Santa Claus has Mrs. Claus, who she's there, but you're not really sure what she adds to the story. It's just nice that Santa, has somebody to spend his life with. And Galadriel has Celeborn, who is there. He also is hanging out in Lothlorien. Not really sure what he's bringing to the table, but it's nice that Galadriel has somebody. And then the last thing that you need to have if you want to be a good Santa Claus, you need to be able to get into people's houses. In some versions, Santa comes down the chimney, or if there's a house that doesn't have a chimney, he creates a chimney. Well, Galadriel also has a way of getting into places that are closed off. At the end of Return of the King, in the section called The Appendices, we get an explanation of things that were going on in Middle-earth while the rest of the story was happening. So while, Sauron was attacking Gondor and, Frodo's climbing Mount Doom, we're told that there was war in the north. And Lothlorien was attacked 3 times by Sauron's forces in the north. And after the ring was destroyed, Galadriel and Celeborn, he did something, I guess, led an army to Dol Guldur, Sauron's fortress in the south of Mirkwood. And we're told that Galadriel used her powers to tear down the walls and lay all the pits bare. So much like Santa, Galadriel probably can get into any place that she wants to. Maybe a little bit more violently than Santa does it, but hey, Middle-earth is a little bit more violent of a world sometimes. So I think when you add all of that up, it's very clear Galadriel should be Santa Claus in the truly Christmas edition of The Fellowship of the Ring. And if you want to learn more about Galadriel or other information about Lord of the Rings, you should check out my podcast, the Lord of the Rings AMA podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.